I've been really curious about like what's actually happening here. So we're going to watch the whole thing.
SAG-AFTRA is planning another.
Yeah, so this is apparently like some big drama with voice actors and like the voice acting union and Genshin Impact. Apparently, again, like I'm just watching this now, but allegedly they're trying to control like how foreign companies do their voice acting.
Situation. And I'm so grateful that the people who watch my videos are based like this, who see through the nonsense that SAG-AFTRA continues to peddle. So let's get the context, starting with this brief YouTube short from Darkos88.
Paimon VA explained how to fix the missing English voices. Turns out, Hoyo just needs to sign the interim agreement. Right now, many VAs legally can't work because of the strike.
There's a really, really easy solution to this. You just switch it to Japanese, and then it fixes the whole thing.
Not that they don't want to. They can't unless Hoyo signs. If they do, the VAs can return, no matter which studio records them. We can actually help by forcing them to listen. Genshin
it's a simple fix, yeah.
Has a survey on voiceover issues. Go there, say you're very unsatisfied, and tell them to sign the agreement. If a lot of players do it, they maybe will listen.
So yeah, for those that don't know, Hoyoverse and MiHoYo are the devs behind Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, etc., etc. And of course,
yeah, konnichiwa, bitches.
The SAG-AFTRA Western voice actor strike is affecting a number of games and companies. The focus of that short in this video is talking about how it's affecting Hoyoverse though. And a number of Hoyoverse characters in their various games have not been having any English voice actors because those VAs are a part of SAG-AFTRA and therefore also a part of the strike. And the way SAG-AFTRA and a number of English voice actors here in the West have been approaching this whole thing has been very deceitful. For example, they will go to the public trying to say like, oh, it's just innocent voice actors trying to get protections against the use of AI, but they conveniently leave out how the negotiations are really not just about AI protection, but that they're also trying to get more money and how they're...
Wait, hold on. Hold on. I might be wrong on this, but I thought that if a company does like voice acting with the union, everybody has to be union. Otherwise, they won't work with you. I thought that was the case.
Terms can also negatively impact non-union voice actors, causing them to lose their jobs.
The thing about voice acting industry is that it's ruled by cliques that runs on mafia tactics. Why do you think I stopped doing it? I don't know if you guys knew this. I went to voice acting school a long time ago, and that was like what I wanted to do. I worked at like one of the big voice acting studios. This industry sucks dick. And I was like, I'm gonna go make video games. Fuck you guys. And I just left. Like one day, I was like, I went into the office, and I was like, yo, I quit. Peace. And I just fucking left instantly. I didn't even go like, here's like my 2 weeks. Here's like, here's my 2 weeks. Like I'm out of here. I walked in there. I said, I'm out. Peace. Later. And I just fucking went straight home.
Then there's all this moral grandstanding that a number of union VAs have had where they're acting like they're entitled to the public fighting on their behalf.
And then I never wanted to do voice acting again. And then I became a game developer because like I already had skills in that. So
while again screwing over non-union VAs and potentially even taking their jobs from them. It's a really bad look, and I'll break that down further all right now. So at the start of this video, I mentioned how glad I am that my viewers are in the loop with this stuff.
I did that at 2 jobs actually. There was another job I did that where I quit. I basically, so happens I went in and I thought I was being treated really unfairly at this job because I didn't speak Spanish actually, which was really fucking annoying. But I basically walked in and I was like, yeah, I quit. And then the guy's like, oh yeah, but you can't do that because you had to put in 2 weeks because otherwise I won't have anyone to put on shift. And I said, yeah, too bad. And then I just left. It's like, fuck it, I'm gone. What are you gonna do? You're gonna tell people that I did that? Like, I don't care. I don't need your recommendation.
And no better than to just believe whatever Western VAs say and whatever SAG-AFTRA says. And the great news is that the comments of that YouTube short also include a bunch of people calling that stuff out too. This is quite a big difference from what we saw a few years ago.
In America, there's a whole thing where if you want to quit, you have to give them 2 weeks. You have to like say like, I'm quitting. So in 2 weeks, this is my notice. In 2 weeks, I'm out. You can just fucking leave because like they don't have any power actually to like keep you working because it's a voluntary work basis unless you're on a specific contract where they already prepaid you basically. Yeah.
When so many people on the internet would just believe anything English voice actors told them, no matter what narrative they were trying to spin, now we see so many people not fall.
It's a professional courtesy, and the reason behind it is you're basically saying that like, oh, I'm gonna do that, but like put in a good word for me or whatever for my next job. But like if you don't care about that, then it's kind of like whatever, right?
For that kind of manipulation, and it's a very wholesome development. So hopping over to the comments of that YouTube short.
I didn't do that for every job. It was only for the jobs where they treated me like shit, basically.
And you can see what I mean. Sorting by top comments, we've got ones that read, is it that simple though? Himiko VA shared the info that signing the agreement would mean that non-union actors would lose their job. Basically, they are caught between a crossfire because union actors can't work with non-approved projects, and if they sign the agreement, non-union actors would either lose their job or be forced to join the union, and they are not part of it for their own reasons. One of the responses that comment gets is this one that says, "You're technically right. Hoyo can't sign it because they risk losing some non-union VAs. But it's actually because the non-union VAs have a chance to sign on to the project then. But if it's their third time doing so, they are forced to join the union. And SAG only cares about it for the leverage/power they get from it." So this whole third time thing being mentioned there is probably referring to the Taft-Hartley Act, and I'll do my best to try and explain why that could be a problem. Hypothetically, if Hoyo signs this union agreement and those roles all become union roles.
The thing is, I have a hard time tolerating like when shit is unfair, basically. Well, I don't know how it is now. It might be like a lot worse now, to be honest. But like back then, like I could get a lot of jobs basically, just like kind of like doing like random stupid shit. It wasn't like that hard. But if a place was like super bullshit, I would just leave basically.
Would only be able to work those roles up to a third time, in which if they do activate that third hit, so to speak, they could be mandated to join the union or no longer be able to get those roles at all, basically having those roles hijacked from them essentially. Some people have even argued that it's basically extortion.
The thing is like if you know you're a good worker, you know you get good numbers, you know you're a good worker, you know you get good numbers, you know that like you're gonna do a good job with like whatever you do. Honestly, like you have the leverage to just be like, fuck you, I'm leaving. Like there's all, I can get hired wherever I want really. But then in order to actually be like that, you actually need to do a good job. You have to like take your job very seriously, like when you're actually working there. You can't be like lazy and then like have this attitude, I think.
And of course, any SAG-AFTRA members who are extremely pro-union are likely going to be happy with any leverage that the union has over non-union voice actors. Some of them feel that non-union VAs are only hurting the union and its members. And so if the non-union voice actors lose their jobs or are forced to join SAG-AFTRA, the hard SAG-AFTRA members will view that as a win-win. Now, of course, while some SAG-AFTRA members are like that, not all of them are so extreme and sadistic towards non-union VAs. However, actions do speak louder than words when the terms of their own union are harmful to non-union voice actors. Another top comment reads,
"They're fucking bullies, dude. I remember I had a union before. They didn't fucking do anything. All they did was tax me." Unions tax you. If you guys have never been in a union before, they take money out. So before you even get your paycheck, they take money out before you even see the paycheck. They automatically deduct money from your paycheck and they just take it. And there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. And then their excuse is like, oh, well, you know, we have to do this because our negotiations benefits everybody. So you have to be in the union in order to like work here, basically. Like they hard take over shit, and then what they're gonna do, I swear to God, this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna pull absolute bullshit like places. A person that should get fired doesn't get fired, basically. Like if there's a person that should 100%, like 150%, they should get fired, they can't fire them because the union's gonna step in to block them from getting fired. Dude, you want to hear a union story? I'll tell you a union story. This is a true story, by the way. My mom used to work at this place. I'm not gonna say where, but she used to work at this. It's like a theme park, like retail, right? In this theme park retail place, my mom was like a lead, right? And she has like another person who like works like kind of with her. So they got in a thing with another employee and they yelled at them. So if you ever work in a theme park, the place that's in front where there's guests, that's called on stage. So like if you're working in a theme park, you're not supposed to do that. People go to theme parks to enjoy and have a good time. And so they got fired. That's a grave offense in like the entertainment industry to like do that, right? That's a grave offense to like actually like, especially because there's like kids around and stuff. It makes everyone uncomfortable, right? It's like an AOE uncomfortable aura, right? So this person, they got fired, like rightfully so. Like anyone would get fired for this, right? You want to know what happened? They went to the union and they said, "Hey union, they fired me because I'm trans." And then the union got their job back. Yeah, dude. Dude, yeah, that really happened. That really happened. And then like the union like let them back in. Basically got like, oh, so sorry. Like, oh man. Like, no, that wasn't, no, we're not transphobic. No, that's not what happened. No, you know what? You can have your job back. It's okay. You can have your job back. And gave them their job back, like full job, full position. No anything happened to them. That's crazy, right? Yeah, that's how unions are, dude.
In all fairness, I disagree. If Hoyoverse signs, they risk losing some non-union talent. SAG-AFTRA is being impossible here, and they want complete control over the industry. It's that simple. So my statement to y'all is this. Don't spam Hoyo to sign the agreement. Spam SAG-AFTRA to release the strike. Tell them it's time to end this. Once again, this is a very positive change where so many people are no longer falling for the manipulations of the union. Very wholesome change to see. Like right here, I'll show you a hilariously pathetic example of how union voice actors attempted to weaponize fans to empower the union. Activist outlet The Mary Sue wrote, voice actors offer cosplayers a fun way to support the SAG-AFTRA strike. And so this section here talks about a panel of voice actors that gathered.
They have to do this though. The unions have to do this because, okay, so they have to do this because they need the support of fans. Because a lot of these companies that they're working with, especially in like the anime and video game industry, are actually like not even in America. So basically, like, if they don't have fan outrage, then the other company can just say, well, we don't give a fuck about you. We'll just hire other people from other countries. Like, fuck you guys. So, like, if they don't have the fans actually, like, saying, like, wow, I can't believe you guys did this. Like, I'm not playing your game anymore. I'm not buying anything until you... Then they have no power, basically.
To talk about the strike. In particular, this paragraph reads, secondly, the panelists said, cosplayers at San Diego Comic-Con and other events can weave SAG support.
So unions do have like a purpose in that, like, there are obviously cases in which like the employer like takes advantage of people, right? That's a thing that could happen. But they also are capable of incredible corruption as well.
Into their costumes. Check out this next part. Crabtree Ireland clarified that while SAG members and influencers are barred from cosplaying under the terms of the strike, okay for hobbyists to cosplay.
Wait, they can't wait, what? They are barred from cosplay?
My suggestion to cosplayers would be that if you are supportive of the strike, figure out a way to combine your support for the strike with your favorite characters. Then you're actually helping us send the message we're trying to send, which is that the community at large is united in supporting us in the demands that we're making, which are reasonable demands. Yeah, okay, bro. And so next they
what were the demands?
Talk about the voice actress Ashley Birch, the voice actress for Aloy from the Horizon series, and Chloe from Life is Strange. And they say the panelists even suggested that cosplayers dress up as SAG president Fran Drescher.
They're considered cosplay scabbing? What? Like, even if you cosplay on your own time and it has nothing to do with like a sponsorship or anything, that's weird.
Who made waves with her impassioned speech announcing the strike. Quote,
that's crazy.
I have a pitch and you can take it or leave it. Birch, I would love to see some Fran Drescher cosplay. Do your magic. I'd love to see it. Yeah, so Birch is trying to get people to cosplay the SAG president. What the frick? So it's really weird how they're trying to police cosplay like this, trying to say certain people are not allowed to cosplay characters because that could hurt the strike, and like recommending people to weave SAG support into their costumes like some kind of SAG badge or something. Even trying to get people to give up other cosplay ideas and instead cosplay the SAG president. Yeah, it's just bizarre stuff. Hopping over to the subreddit forum on
cosplay the fucking SAG president.
Over there
what the
from
hell?
2 months ago on a post about SAG-AFTRA and the strike and all that top comments were calling the stuff out too. For example, this one that reads, don't really like how if the union actors return, they have to remove non-union voice actors, and there's the chance for them to be black.
Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, this is what I was talking about, by the way. You have people that are non-union and then they're like working on a project. It's like, yeah, well, you have to kick those people out. If you want us to join your project, you're gonna have to kick all of them out because they don't belong to us. It's like, dude, so fucking weird.
Huh. Lose-lose for Hoyo. Response they got reads, it's also a bit unfair because I was watching a stream of Emily's son, Claire's English voice actor, and she said that she was supporting the terms of the strike despite not being in SAG-AFTRA herself. Her rationale for this was that she was still too early in her VA career to join them, but wanted to show willingness to follow their terms. I imagine for future reference if the time ever came for her to join. So there are non-union VAs who are not established enough to join a union despite wanting to, who would theoretically be kicked out.
Yeah, so like all of these new, so in these cases, right, if you have a person that's like really good and they're perfect for the role, the union can basically cock block them from getting it because they're too small. So like talk about like fucking bullying people that don't have any power, right? Like non-union people who are like, you know, they're trying to make it. They're like actually really good. They practice a lot. And then like you just fucking cock block them from getting any jobs.
And replaced by that very union should the developers elect to make them a union game. I can't be the only person who sees the issue with that. That's to say nothing.
Yep. So like basically if they hire one person, they're like, oh, we really want this like one voice actor. Yeah, well, you got to fire everybody else and replace them. Like, it's
The fact
crazy.
that these union members are knowingly going against the golden rule of their own organization by signing on to these non-union games.
Unions are just monopolies of the workforce. Yeah, exactly. Zanat, 100%.
But then striking in its name.
That's what I mean. It can be just as corrupt as a company that unions are made to fight against. The unions also can corrupt themselves. So that's the problem, right? That's the problem. Again, I'm not saying that unions as a concept are bad, but what do we always say, guys? We always say you have to account for human nature. In theory, it is a good idea. But is it a good idea in practice? When you take the human element, you take the human nature element, you inject it into the thing, now does it still function?
Leverage the strain of on-voice characters and lower customer satisfaction to achieve that very outcome. Unless I am misinterpreting the options Hoyo actually has here, it feels like unions and their VAs are in direct conflict of interest with non-union VAs. The only way to bring them back is to then replace the non-union VAs with SAG-AFTRA voices, which comes off as quite sinister. No wonder they turn a blind eye to these things. As for Hoyoverse themselves,
I mean, can you imagine that? Like you're a small-time voice actor. This is like your first major role, right? Like you've been working hard. You've been doing like, fan work. You've been, doing like YouTube stuff, like YouTube video dubbing, right? You finally land like your first role. You're like super fucking happy. You're like, oh man, like, dude, I fucking did it. I finally got my character. And then they're like, yeah, but we're going union. So like, peace. Sorry, we're going to replace you and everything with a union person. Dude, that's like some fucking mafia shit, dude.
I wouldn't say
that's
is
so
really
fucked
a
up.
lose position for them. If anything, it might be SAG getting into more of a losing position, as all of this might actually be a wake-up
And
call.
also, so now consider it. What's the benefit of this for the end user? If like a company is able to hire like literally the best person, then why does the end user care about any of this? All it is protecting them, and it has nothing to do with value. There's no increased value for the consumer or anything like that. It's all just 100% self-preservation.
For Hoyoverse and therefore indirectly other gaming companies.
The people that are actually paying for it,
not need these
no value
voice
for them
actors as much as they thought they did. After all, Hoyoverse is still making a lot of money despite some of their characters not having English voices like they used to have.
They're 100% driven on an economy of care. That's the only way that any of this functions.
An example of a game that no longer has an English dub at all is Snowbreak Containment Zone. Niche Gamer had wrote about this, saying, Snowbreak is a gacha game that previously cut its English dub late last year after evaluating voiceover preferences, quote unquote. This means most people were probably listening in Japanese anyways. However, as the game has slowly gained more popularity, they have seemingly reached out to the English VAs to bring them back. However, it turns out that the English voice actors said they don't want to go back to voicing in the game because the game is too focused on fan service. The fan response to this news has ranged from apathetic to celebratory, with some considering the VAs effectively filtered or gatekept from the hobby. Implications that if they dislike the fan service, they probably dislike the game and may not be professional when performing. On a Snowbreak Reddit post about this stuff, there were top comments like this: whether they do or don't bring the voice actors back. I honestly...
The sad thing is there's probably plenty of like voice actors out there, like independent, like kind of, they're a little bit newer to the industry that would have loved to have these roles, 100%. And you have these people like to just fucking cock block the whole thing.
Don't mind. I'd rather have their finances spent on characters and gameplay. Similarly, the next comment reads, very unlikely now since they're redoing story chapters with CN and JPVAs. Another top comment saying, I'd like to have them back as well. Being able to listen to the story in English helps. But, well, the English voiceover industry and the Western entertainment industry in general are so politically correct that they opposed the idea of voicing Snowbreak that now has attractive and revealing designs for female characters. Not to mention the female cast showing clear romantic interest in the main character, which is a man. And we all know they hate that. While EN voice would help, I don't want the money to be spent on people who would trash on the game and spite its direction. I don't want to listen to a voice in game, bond with the character, only to find out later that the VA is a bit unhinged and insists on her character being a sexual non-binary with they/them pronouns or some other headcanon BS, thinking that she owns the character and uses her position to push ideas and lament on Twitter about how ticked she is that men played and take a liking to the character she voiced. By the way, at least the part of...
Some people that work in the industry have a hard time separating themselves from the character. Like they actually they have this weird thing where they basically connect themselves to the character and they're no longer acting really. They're just like, yeah, that's me. Literally me. So they're unable to actually perform the function of like actually acting and like separating themselves from like the actual character. Because that's kind of what they should do, right? What is acting but to be a character that is not you? Right? That's the whole point, right? Did you really not think that this was going to have any sort of like possible romance or any possible like fan service or anything like that when you're working on an anime game? It's like, you know what you're getting into, right?
About the non-binary thing there isn't even just hypothetical, as that did happen with Paimon in Genshin Impact and Paimon's voice actor, as Paimon's voice actor does claim to be non-binary.
Self-insert has always been cringe, but for now, I remember, man, dude, like, you want to know one of the things that like weirded me out about it was there's like some big voice actors, I'm not gonna say who, that I've met, and they will like sign something as like their character name instead of like them. And I was like, yo, that's fucking weird. I was like, bro, what? Like,
or at least the last time I looked. And then was trying to say that Paimon canonically was
I would be so weirded out by that if I was a creator. Like, if I was like actually like the person who like created that character, like the lore and stuff like that, I would feel really weird about that.
Despite that not being true, and getting very upset at people
I'm not gonna say
who
who it was.
claim that it's not true. Anyways, that post
I'm not gonna say who it is, and I'm not gonna like hint at it at all.
ends by saying, if there was a way to source English voice actors that don't trash on fans and what we love, or try to influence the game away from Snowbreak's fan service ideals, it'd be great. But for now, as CSUN have found out, there doesn't seem to be a way. CSUN being the devs and publishers for Snowbreak. So with that example, and all the stuff going on with Hoyoverse, we see more games from overseas, deciding that it's not even worth it for them to bring on English voice actors, thinking that it's all too much of a bother, or at the very least, perhaps only going with voice actors who are not a part of a union. So we'll have to wait and see how that all continues to play out.
Unions are parasitic leeches that latch themselves onto workers to drain fees out of them and nothing in return if it doesn't make the union grow. Unions are very popular with the boomers, pension slaves, and toxic cliques and no one else. Nowadays, I think that's becoming a lot more of the case. But again, like, I can see the value of a union. It's just, again, human nature makes it really difficult for that to actually work out, right? Thank you for the bits, brother. Hood of Steelman. Unions were made due to the treatment of coal miners back in the day, which was needed, but now is corrupt. The union at my place is going to decide the schedule of our entire apartment. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So like there was a time in which like they were necessary, but again, like because of human nature, like they can be corrupted, right? Even voice actors are going to get blacklisted outside of the US eventually because of this drama. Well, there's a lot of things. It's not just this drama too. It's there's a lot of other drama as well. Like, I mean, you could see like what happened with Snow White and Ziegler, right? I know she's not a voice actor specifically, but do people really want to run the risk of that happening? I mean, if you think about it, like Disney lost so much money because of that person. Any tips for someone who wants to voice act? Just practice by like kind of fan dubbing your own stuff. Even if nobody sees it, just like take a character that you really, really like, and then just try dubbing it yourself. And just do this like whenever you have free time, and that will like help you develop like the character, develop different characters basically. One of the things about doing voice acting really is like you take qualities. When it comes to like changing your voice and doing like different voices, it's basically you take different qualities that like you can have with your voice and then you mix and match them basically. So like you have like accents and then you have like mannerism, things like that. And then you basically try to develop like each one of those. And then after that, like you can combine those to make different characters.
Interestingly enough, I actually had 2 different union voice actors come to the comment section of that video angry with the video. But to one VA's credit, she actually deleted her comment after only a few hours of posting it. Proudly realized it was a bad move to make that comment, that the stuff she was trying to say about my video was incorrect, and that she was really only making the union VAs look worse. And so I won't be naming that voice actress, but there is another voice actress, the second one who came to my comment section, and her comment is still there. Let's take a look at this. Allegedly from this English voice actress, Cher Kirby says, "This video is full of misinformation.
Okay.
If you're not a member of SAG-AFTRA, maybe don't make videos like this." They got a response from only 17 hours ago, actually, that reads, "So you're not allowed to talk about an issue if you're not a member of the protection racket being called out."
You have to admit, this is like their play. This is always the play from various groups. Oh, you're not a member of this group? Well, then don't criticize it. You don't know what you're talking about. No talking about it. It's actually hilarious.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, there's a post on the Genshin Impact subreddit from only 7 hours ago calling out the recent actions of Cher Kirby. We're not going to read that just yet, though, because I'd like to give you all the context, because this whole situation involves many more people than just Cher Kirby, as so many people on the internet right now are calling out union voice actors overall, including SAG-AFTRA itself. So I'll give you the context about what started all that over the last 24 hours or so. And it all begins here on March 26th. This post with now 2.9 million plus views over on Twitter from voice actor Jacob Takanashi makes this announcement about how he's joining Genshin Impact as a new voice actor, saying, "Role announcement. I'm honored to join the English cast of Genshin Impact as the voice of Kinich. Taking up the mantle of Malipo is a privilege, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to carry the flame from the previous flame bearer, John, who did an incredible job. Those are big shoes to fill, and I promise to give it my all. out of respect for him, for Hoyoverse, and for you, the fans. Thank you to Diana for their amazing direction and for helping me navigate the intricacies of this incredible game, and to Side Tokyo and Hoyoverse for the honor of bringing Kinich to life. I'm deeply grateful for the privilege.
So wait, what happened with this? The guy quit, or what happened?
However, in the responses, we can see a number of voice actors getting very upset at Jacob Takanashi. Comments from Western voice actors, such as Kaylee Mills, saying, "This is actually kinda diabolical. If you need the money, at least take the role uncredited. This just comes off as an easy grab for clout. It's not a good look." Valeria Rodriguez leaving a number of thumbs down. Stephanie Sheh saying, "There are many reasons why roles get recast. I personally draw the line when the original actor is holding out because they are fighting for better work conditions. I've refused many auditions to take over roles from my peers because I'd never do that to another fellow actor." And Corina Boettger saying, "This wasn't a passing of the torch." Corina being the English voice of Paimon in Genshin Impact, and someone that we'll be coming back to later in this video, as Corina also made other statements relating to the situation that many people in the Genshin fandom are pointing out and exposing for immense hypocrisy. But yeah, these sort of comments from voice actors upset with Jacob go on and on. For example, here's another one. Ruben Lack saying, "Dude, really classless move considering an actor was fighting for AI protections on this job. I appreciate folks want the paycheck, but they should know crossing a picket line."
Wasn't the AI thing not even a... I'll let it go. I thought the AI thing wasn't the reason, the full reason.
Saying, "My hope is you were misled and weren't fully aware that John was withholding his work to fight for a better future for actors everywhere. If that's the case, you have the opportunity to do the funniest thing right now. But if not, and you continue in this role, yikes, man." It's also not just English VAs leaving negative comments to Jacob, but also various union supporters in general. For example, this response to Jacob's statement reading, "Let's call it what it is. You're an effing scab." However, there's also a lot of comments defending Jacob. For example, the comment there in the center reading, "Y'all harassing him should realize that he's working from Japan. The strike is only happening in America. He's not under the strike in any shape or form just because he does VA work in English." And other comments like, "Why pile on the guy? He's a VA based in Japan. They have different labor laws in there. And congrats on your new role. Warning you now that fandoms can be toxic, and apparently other VAs too." While I do
What's a scab? A scab is a person that basically isn't in the union and is going to do the work anyway. And then so that makes the union people pissed off because their whole leverage is we're cutting like the supply of labor. And then the company's like, well, fuck it. We're going to go ask other people to do it then. And then the other people are like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And it's those people that piss off the unions.
Genshin fan would admit that the Genshin fandom can be toxic. It's really interesting because in this particular situation, it seems like the Genshin fandom at large is actually defending Jacob. And we'll get to that when we hop over to the Genshin subreddit in a moment. First, we'll get some more additional context. That takes us over to John Patneaude. Hopefully I said that right. This is the voice actor who got replaced by Jacob. John says, "Hey everyone, if you've been playing the latest 5.5 update in Genshin Impact and you're hearing Kinich speak for the first time in 6 months, it's not my voice. I've been recast. I've been withholding voiceover services during the SAG-AFTRA interactive strike because Hoyo/Cognosphere would not offer AI protections in the form of a SAG interim agreement."
I heard that the AI stuff wasn't like the only thing. I heard that there was another thing that made it so they could only specifically hire SAG people for the project if SAG people are working on it. And that was the issue that was actually preventing them from making an agreement.
Pause there real quick because this is something a lot of people are taking issue with. Specifically how it comes off like these union voice actors and executives are conveniently leaving things out and really telling the public certain bits of information and simultaneously trying to have all the public support them as if they're entitled to the public supporting their cause no matter what, especially with how these negotiations may negatively impact non-union voice actors. And all this has been costing the union voice actors support. A lot of people are no longer willing to support the union VAs. And as has been a recurring theme throughout
Again, like the issue is they're working 100% on the goodwill of the fan base. And that goodwill is like drying up. That's the problem.
That's something else we'll also be getting into more details about in a moment once we get through the rest of this content.
Because it's not in their best interest. It's not in the best interest of the consumer. It's actually worse for the consumers because what they're advocating for and trying to get sympathy towards is something that reduces a competition within the space, right? Because if SAG is able to actually like force everybody to be union, then basically it lowers the amount of people that they could draw from the pool. Which again, it lowers competition, right? And then not only that, it's like they're gonna expect more money, which means that prices are gonna go up for the end user. So all of this is actually bad for the end user.
Back to the
Am I sick? I am always sick.
They kept my character's dialogue silent for months. All the while, I had to make the difficult decision to continue not going in until an interim agreement was signed, and this ultimately was why I was recast. Now, obviously, a recast is not what I wanted. I'd hope that any progress behind the scenes would be made and I could come back safely, or that if recast auditions went out, my colleagues wouldn't read for them. Unfortunately, I was wrong. I absolutely adored playing Kinich. Genshin was my comfort game during the early parts of the pandemic.
I'm gonna be real though, that does kind of suck for this guy, to be honest. Like I do feel for that. Like he's probably like really upset about it, right? Like if you actually like doing the job, but then like you kind of have to strike because everyone else is striking, and then you lose it because of that. I mean, that's unfortunate.
And it was a dream of mine to book a playable character. At the time, I didn't have an agent, didn't live in LA, or had any connections that would get me close. But 4 years later, I did it, and the messages I've received from you all saying how much my performance.
Why does he have to strike? Because if you're a member of the union, you have to strike, or they kick you out. That's why. Yeah.
My heart swell. I would and can return if Hoyo invites me back and signs an interim. I stand by my choices regardless.
It might be in his contract as well. Actually, he might even have like a fucking contract on it where he literally can't, like by law. It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
Outcome. Also, the strike is still ongoing. Please don't believe this information.
No. By law, as in he has a contract agreement. So like if he breaks the terms of the contract, like he might actually get sued. Right. So it is possible. I don't know. Well, I don't know the terms of the contract, obviously, because I'm not them. But that could be like a factor in it.
My best wishes to the cast and the production team. Thank you for everything, JP. All right. With all that context, that takes us over to the Genshin Impact subreddit, as previously mentioned. In this post reading, Kaching's VA, Kaching being a character from Genshin, use their character to attack Kinich's new VA. Are we just going to accept this nonsense? Kinich's new VA, Jacob Takanashi, is currently being bullied by some VAs, including those who voiced Genshin characters like Paimon's VA, Corina, and Kaching's VA, Kaylee Mills. In Jacob's announcement post, Kaylee Mills attacked Jacob for accepting the job. When someone disagreed with her, she said, "I guarantee you Kaching would be doing the work to educate people and do what's best for the people." What do you think about this? I feel bad for Kinich's new VA. He's just doing his job. He's not a US VA. Here's his post. As of recording, that post over on Reddit collecting over 4,200 upvotes and over 1,800
Yeah,
comments.
the guy's not even like operating out of the US, I guess.
The top comment on that post saying, "Wish she talked this much when people called her out for supporting Mosey's old VA, who is a sexual abuser. She supported him? She supported him in 2020 when he posted his statement, then congratulated him when his role was announced.
What is going on?
She doubled down here." Apparently, another one of his supporters, Sam's VA from HSR, Honkai Star Rail, is also one of the current VAs targeting Jacob right now. Funny how that's a correlation they both have. It's seriously starting to look like a clique, or some sort of Nepo circle, to be honest. That's a very reasonable assessment, and something a lot of anime and gaming fans came to realize, especially around 2019, as the whole situation with Vic and Funimation at all put a giant spotlight on the corrupt and cliquey part of the industry.
Charisma classes are always the biggest fucking drama queens. Every single one of them. If the charisma is the main stat of the class, always huge drama queens, almost every single fucking time.
This VA, Brianna, responding to John, the prior VA for Kinich statement, which we read earlier, saying, "Thank you for standing strong and holding the line with us. You're a real one." Clears throat. Some of us, SMFH. But if we take a look at the comments in response to her, they're pretty much all against her. For example, going through this just from the top, at this point, companies should just give up on English voice actors whatsoever. It worked for Snowbreak. It can work for all of them.
The thing is like, that's not wrong. Can you imagine being these companies and like all you see is like American VAs just fucking shit up and like just causing like a huge headache? Like, why would you want to deal with it? You would want to either use people from other countries or use AI, obviously. Like, you don't want to deal with this, right? And the problem with that is it actually is really sad for like people who are not like that. Like, it could be like their dream job, right? And then they're just getting cucked from like everybody else.
And
it's a bad Apple rule. Yeah, exactly. Malkrich, exactly.
If you're not familiar with the Snowbreak thing, I did go over that briefly at the end of the video I mentioned at the start of this one regarding my...
The ratio of like drama queen to like non-drama queen is like really, really bad in like in the Bard class compared to like all the other classes, basically.
Coverage of this English VA stuff, so consider checking that out for more info on that. Other comments like, "Y'all are pieces of garbage, man. Gotta love the hypocrisy and self-righteousness. Honestly, seeing some of the other VAs attack someone for taking a job, I hope you all get recast." Yeah, there's just dozens and dozens of comments roasting this VA, but I don't want...
And the other thing too is like we talked about the other day, the charisma classes are the meta right now. So like everybody wants to be a charisma class. So what you have is you have an oversaturation of charisma class players, which means now they're all fighting to be the bard that like is in this party, right? So that's the problem.
I want to get too sidetracked from the Paimon stuff because there's actually still a lot more to go over regarding that part of the whole thing. For example, back over on Reddit, this comment with over 1,800 upvotes saying, "How nice of Corina, Paimon's VA, to support VAs not getting paid while cashing a check every patch."
Wait, what?
Also, while having the most lines.
Oh, because of residuals. Wait, hold on. Wait, what? Wait. is there residual? Do they get royalties? Really? Hold on. No, she's just straight up still working? She's scabbing? No fucking way. No. Wait, hold on. You're telling me that she's going after people for scabbing, but she's scabbing? No fucking way. There's no way. I don't even know what to say. Guys, I don't even know what to say anymore. That's fucking crazy. So fucking crazy. There's no way. Wait, is that what she said? She said, I'm autistic, so I can do... No. Is it going to talk about it more?
Means most likely getting paid the most. Like, aren't they the #1 person with the most influence and pull if they struck? There are many other top comments over on Reddit calling out Corina, but let's hop back over to Twitter, because there are various comments on Twitter calling Corina out directly, to which Corina even responded. In this exchange, we can see what Corina had said to Jacob Takanashi. This wasn't a passing of the torch, and this user
Okay, well, hold on. I'm trying to be fair. Is she talking about the fact that he got replaced or the fact that he's scabbing? I guess they would be the same, really. But I guess you could make a language distinction.
In essence, saying, and you working on it is still good for the strike? Like, make it make sense. Corina then responded with this set of tweets saying,
No, there's no way.
Technically scabbing. I originally have this role, and technically I can still work this role. I am a disabled person.
Oh my god, these bards, bro.
And this is the job that puts food on my table, as I actually record this role year round.
So that doesn't work for other people? Wait, so what, other people don't have to put food on the table?
But I didn't take this role from another person who was striking. I had this role, and I am stuck in it because I have no other way to pay my medical bills. But yes, technically, I am a scab, and you're right, I don't deserve...
Yeah, because other people don't have medical bills, and other people don't have any problems in their life. Obviously, you know, they're the only person that has problems. That's true, yeah.
Any praise right now. I don't deserve any of it. I deserve to be told off just like this actor. So please do. No one should look up to me. I'm trapped and a coward because I continue this job, because if not, I end up homeless. I don't say that.
Yo, this is unreal, man.
Because I deserve sympathy. I don't. The ones sticking to the picket line deserve all the praise, not me. I love voicing Paimon. Love it. I've been through so much that you guys will never truly understand. But I also know what I am, and I should not be given any applause for this. If I could feasibly stick the line with my fellow actors...
Is it bad that like when I read this, like in my mind, all I hear is like that Attack on Titan opening that's like, when I lose it all, slip and fall. It's like, that's all I hear in my head, dude.
I would.
I never wanted to grab a knife, I swear.
This job actually barely keeps me alive. But that doesn't mean that it makes it different. It is not a good thing to my fellow actor that I continue to work on this game. I have struggled with that since the strike started, so call me out for this. Please, I deserve it. If it means we get closer to making things better, then so be it. A top response to Corina saying, so
no
what?
Fucking
Many
way.
disabled people work remotely in other professions. Voice acting is not your only option if it puts you in such an unethical position. But you have to seek attention on
Twitter.com. Dude, this is crazy. Dude, the crazy thing about this is like, yeah, I'm being unethical. And all of you people, you're the fucking worst for doing this. Me too. Like, what?
16-year-old.
What the
present
fuck?
yourself like a saint in the
Oh
whole
my
community.
god, dude.
Corina
I
responded,
can't.
saying,
I can't
definitely don't
even.
present myself as a saint, but you don't know my disability and what I am able to do. Same way you don't know any other VA situations either. Imagine someone shaming
That's what
you
I
for just trying to
mean.
make
How do you know that these people are not in the same situation as you?
Which at this point,
This
me
is-
as well
this is
rewarded.
great. This
There's
is, like,
also a
insane
difference
ego.
between taking a role quietly and bragging about getting it when the other VA was recast for striking. He wasn't even aware of the situation. He lives in Japan.
This is like some max. So this is some max, like min-max charisma, like stat dump everything else. That's what this is.
Y'all are so out of touch.
This is
So
unreal.
let me know what you think about the Corina stuff. Do you think Corina's response was good, that the points are fair? Or do you think it's an example of hypocrisy from these
She's
voice actors?
ulting.
Or perhaps something
Dude,
else?
she's
Moving on to the
ulting,
next
dude.
VA, that takes us back to
For
Cher
real.
Kirby. In this post that says, Cher Kirby, Candace VA, opinion on Hoyo and Genshin's fanbase. This once again being the VA who allegedly left a comment on my video, where Cher Kirby is apparently over on Blue Sky saying, in response to Jacob Takanashi's announcement post, this gotta be the most classless thing I've seen with everything going on. Have fun with
That's
Genshin.
so fucking
You'll
mean,
never
dude.
work on anything else.
Dude, that's so mean to like say it to another person, dude. That's so mean. Like a person's just trying to follow their fucking dream, and you're just like, dude.
LMFAO. It's also interesting how they're recording in Japan for English dub now.
Man,
Wow.
okay. Do you guys see why? Do you guys see why I like didn't want to do this now? Do you see what I mean? I was right, actually. I was right, because this is exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Wow, cool. Go a bed and recast me too while you're at it. Screw Hoyo.
The problem with me is I have no filter. So I'm like the problem is if something like this happened, I would have just called them a bitch. And then I would have gotten in trouble, basically.
Disrespectfully. Because let's be frank, who's going to beat me over a video game that underpays its performers and is actively farming their voices?
Like, I'm the person who told my boss in a meeting that he was fucking garbage and didn't know what he was doing. It's like, I have no filter. It's like really bad. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's a bad thing, I think. I think it's a bad thing to be like that.
So that they don't have to hire real people. I do hope it was worth it. Truly, I do. You'll never catch me singing.
It's not good. Don't think it's good. It's not good to be like that.
Or any company that operates that way to a simple request of protecting the talents they hired, singing praises for. Sorry, not sorry, I rage quit. One more thing. I have never dealt with a fan base as callous and as annoying as the Genshin fan base, who would go so far as to berate the voice actors, who only want better protections and rates for being rightfully upset that someone publicly scabbed. Just insanity.
They don't care about that. It's like I said, this isn't in their best interest anyway.
The only other one I've dealt with like this is the Murder Drones fan base, and only one of those doxed me. I'm not in the business of arguing and fighting with children. I'm going to delete some of that thread later, because this is a semi-professional page. But TLDR, don't talk to me about Genshin Impact ever again. KK. Top comments of that post reading: the United States isn't the only place where English is spoken well. Also, there are US citizens across the world right now working remotely. I'm confused too, since when English becoming exclusive to US and US only? Apparently, Hoyo's characters are theirs and only theirs to voice.
Yep.
They just forgot to notify Hoyo about that. Another top comment in that exchange saying, well, that's one of the most unprofessional resignations I've ever seen. If I was a voice caster for any other field of work, I'd probs not hire her based on this alone. It's so unprofessional and going into unhinged territory. Honestly, I won't be surprised if Hoyo is now gathering all this to bring all of them to the negotiating table and have a word with what they just said regarding Jacob. Those may be personal accounts, but I imagine Hoyo doesn't want a bunch of VAs going around starting a civil war with other VAs and make it look like Hoyo's VAs are some cult. There's a pretty well understood line where your personal account ends, and it's right around where you start bad-mouthing the company that pays your salary, lol.
Yep.
It's one thing if these VAs were trashing on each other purely on principle, but they're literally name-dropping the game and the company, and that's a huge no-no in any job.
Hoyo should just fucking recast all of them. Because even in the case where like you're like, even like strike aside, you don't want someone like this working on your project that's going to like sabotage you, basically, or like possibly people that would possibly try to blackmail you. It's like you might as well just get rid of them now and just take the band-aid off, pay the hit, pay the toll to just get them out.
It reflects poorly on the company. Hope she's prepared to explain these tweets to her future employers. This is just hot air. There's no way they actually put their money where their mouth is and resign. Doesn't matter, because that statement is basically all Hoyo needs to get her to never voice for them ever again. Whether she wants to backtrack or not, this can be considered a surefire resignation in Hoyo point of view, due to the atrocious mannerisms and statements made by her. Yep, she basically burned every single bridge of possibility that she'll ever get cast in a Hoyoverse game ever again. And I'm sure there'll be some game companies that see this as well, and would prefer not to take in a VA this volatile in their games. What a way to sabotage your VA career. Essentially, the entire post is criticizing her. Let me know what you think about that part of the situation. And finally, we'll take a look at some public reception for the SAG-AFTRA agreement overall. On a post about the agreement terms, we see top comments like this. So if Hoyo is forced to sign, all non-union VAs are effectively forced to join the union in a month or else, which would limit them to only...
There it is, exactly. They're basically trying to monopolize the entire voice acting of the project and like anything that MiHoYo works on to kick out all other voice actors, because there's voice actors that aren't in the... America's not the only country that speaks English, like they said earlier. There's people from Australia, there's people from the UK that also probably are also voice actors. So basically this action locks it to USA only and kicks out all of the other countries. And I love America, but this is fucked up.
American VAs, giving the union a monopoly over the English voice acting in all the affected projects. I know it's Reddit, but countries other than America exist. Not necessarily only American VAs, but SAG actors, the majority of which are American. It's semantic, but non-Americans can join SAG if they work in the US. Many VAs don't want to join a mafia organization. The mafia is asking for membership protection fees plus continuous fees. It sucks every money from VA. Meanwhile, all the union VAs are crying about being misinfo when someone points this out. They're doing the it's us or them, and they pick themselves. They're more than willing to screw over non-union VAs. Yep. Why do they get to make money while I'm jobless? Even though studios like Studio Cadence, ZZZ, have non-AI clause and supports negotiations about AI with SAG, yet these VAs kept pushing pushing AI as an issue to sign the agreement.
I
Bold
see.
to assume that the
So basically, they're doing the thing, and they do this all the time in government, where they basically, the issue that they're complaining about is not actually the problem, but it's the most visually appealing for like people that don't know. So they're basically taking the AI thing and like they're bundling it with a bunch of other bullshit that like nobody wants to agree with. They do this all the time with laws where like they'll have a law that like, yeah, everybody can get behind that, and then they'll bundle it with a bunch of shit that people don't agree with, and then they'll be like, oh, you voted against it, that means that you want children to die. And it's like, no, I'm okay with taking that part, like with the part about not killing children. I'm okay with that, but I don't know about the other part, right? And then they'll use that basically as a weapon.
The people who go online and harass a colleague are actually smart people. I bet that 80% didn't even read or grasp what they are striking for, but just get the TLDR from their agent/agency. Interestingly enough, some union voice actors are attempting to say that the union actually does care about non-union actors. For example, in this tweet by Koi Dao, part of it reads, during the strike, the SAG negotiating committee has expressed they want to help non-union actors keep their jobs and are willing to negotiate a waiver for the must-join rule for any project that needs it.
So the problem with that is that it still locks out future work. So this is basically saying like, okay, well, like, you know, if you were already there, you get to keep your job, but like fuck everyone else basically.
I remember the video from the SAG guy who said non-union VAs are lesser than union VAs, which was deleted after the backlash. So I can't really believe they want to help the non-unions, lol. Once again, we have Corina Boettger here saying, you mean the one that wasn't even said during this strike? Keep up, this is a different strike now. Also, the entire union screamed at him for that. To give you additional context, I believe it was Duncan Crabtree Ireland, the National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator for SAG-AFTRA, who made those disparaging remarks towards non-union actors, specifically saying that they're quote-unquote lesser quality.
Dude, this is literally like high school clique, like Mean Girl shit. It's actually crazy.
So while some union members
holy fuck, the high school never ends, guys.
Backlash on social media for those remarks.
Yeah, I'm too old for
like
this. Yeah, exactly.
Taken against him. It seems like he's still
for real, Sleepy, for real, man.
That top executive position. And furthermore, it seems like his position at the union is getting him a salary of over $1 million a year. Lastly, on SAG-AFTRA's own website, they have a section dedicated to talking about financial core. A brief summary of financial core reads, financial core refers to a legal carve-out that permits workers opposed to participating in a labor union to be employed under the benefits of a union's contracts without compelling them to be a member of that union. In which SAG-AFTRA says, financial core members are viewed as scabs or anti-union by SAG-AFTRA members, directors, and writers, most of whom also belong to entertainment unions. And as you surely know, scab is used as a derogatory term for people who are not a part of the union or who cross picket lines, etc., etc. The point is, while some union members attempt to say that SAG-AFTRA really does care about people who are not a part of the union, it seems like the union's own actions and terms as well.
Of course they don't care, obviously, because these people are undermining their power. Again, their entire power is to be able to leverage like the full stop of labor to get what they want, basically.
Well, it's this whole situation recently with a number of union VAs and how they've treated Jacob has caused many people to be skeptical, to say the least.
I would be for unions. They weren't at their heart corrupt. Well, I mean, that's the problem with a lot of things. A lot of things are, they sound good on paper, but once you take into account human nature, it all falls apart. And that's because we always forget like that there are a lot of humans who will do whatever it is to like basically benefit themselves, and it doesn't matter.
Over the last 2 days or so, the front page of our Genshin Impact has been filled with top posts where people are condemning the behavior of these English voice actors. The two biggest points of contention right now are one, the harassment of Jacob Takanashi, of course, but two, it seems like most people don't like the framing that the English voice actors have been attempting to use for their strike. But first, we're actually going to take a look at a gaming journalist attempt at damage control here, because you gotta see how absurd this is. This is how disingenuous these people are. So thank you, Ray, for the tag. Says, Hirohei, have you seen this article that is posting straight up lies about the strike? First, it claims the whole thing is just to protect the VAs. And it also claims John was voice acting Kinich for 5 years. Okay, for those not familiar with Genshin and or Kinich, let me explain why this is,
I don't know who Kinich
as mentioned, absurd. First of all, Genshin Impact itself is not even 5 years old yet. It'll be 5 years in September. But Kinich himself only just came out in September of 2024.
Oh, so he barely even so hold on. The union guy barely voiced the character, and then they were like, yeah, fuck this, we're replacing it because we're not going to deal with this.
Even a year old. And this journalist is trying to say that this guy was voicing Kinich for 5 years somehow. In this PC Gamer article from Harvey Randall titled Diabolical, Genshin Impact's English cast gives new VO the cold shoulder after he frames replacing a striking actor as an opportunity to carry the flame. And then including this quote from Paimon's VA Corina Boettger, "This wasn't a passing of the torch. The Genshin Impact community is a little on fire at the moment. That's due to SAG-AFTRA, an American union of actors across entertainment media, and its ongoing strike. Said strike has been proceeding apace for over 8 months now, with voice actors still embroiled in fights over deals for protection against AI exploitation. Being a game with voice actors in it, Genshin Impact has been, well, impacted. The good news for Genshin Impact players who don't care about such protections, and MiHoYo mind, is that one of the game's characters, Kinich, will have voice acting again. The bad news for everyone else is that a Japanese-based voice actor has swept in and accepted the role without acknowledging the ongoing strike. And so first of all, this is extremely disingenuous framing.
Yep,
many
it is,
people
yeah.
do understand why VAs would be worried about AI exploitation, but as I mentioned earlier, many people also understand that things are more complicated than that. And the framing from many people in the union has been seen as manipulative, to say the least. Kinda ironic actually how we can see similar manipulations from this very journalist. But let's take a look at where this journalist was apparently claiming that John Patneaude was voicing Kinich for 5 years somehow. We can see the journalist reposting Takanashi's statement accepting the role. And then the journalist writes, "To be blunt, Takanashi has written this as though John Patneaude, who has been voicing the character for half a decade." Yeah, please explain how that works. Were these people just making stuff up now, trying to like make it sound like...
They probably just looked at when Genshin came out. Because whoever wrote this probably doesn't know anything about like video games. They think that every video game is like Super Mario Brothers, where it comes out and that's it. They don't understand that you can patch a game. That's probably what happened. Because they don't actually know anything about how modern games are. They probably played like Donkey Kong or something.
Way worse. Oh yeah, he's been voicing the character for half a decade, guys. Anyway, it says, Takanashi has written this as though John Patneaude has been voicing the character for half a decade, stepped down from the role due to illness or a tragic incident or something, which seems ignorant to the reality of the situation. Oh, that's ironic. Patneaude was on strike. So yeah, that's pretty absurd. But it actually gets even more amusing. We can see Valeria Rodriguez, the VA for Sucrose in Genshin Impact, actually retweeting that PC Gamer article that we just read, saying, "Lost 400 followers for a couple of thumbs downs," and calling out entitlement in a fan base. "Oh well, it is what it is. I appreciate everyone who's thought critically and supports what's going on and has integrity. This article actually put it really eloquently." The immense irony of talking about critical thinking and that article having integrity when it's just got overtly false information in it. On top of Valeria Rodriguez reposting that article, Corina Boettger, the VA for Paimon, is also retweeting that post from Valeria Rodriguez. So yeah, let me know what you think about all of that in the comments. That takes us to this post from our Genshin Impact from only 5 hours ago titled, "I'm a voice actor you may have heard in Genshin Impact. Here's some info on the strike situation." Saying, "Hi there, I'm Kit Harrison, a voice actor based in the UK who has worked on several games over my career." Now before we go any further with Kit's post, let's get an idea of where his bias may lie. Hopping over to his Blue Sky account, we can see that he claims to be a voice actor repped by CESD Talent, heard in Genshin Impact, Smite, and Baldur's Gate 3. Taking a look at his posts, we can see 6 hours ago he's talking about the post that he made over on our Genshin Impact, but right below that is one where he's reposting a post from Little Karibo. And in that post, it looks like we can see more disparaging remarks being made towards Jacob Takanashi. Little Karibo posting a screenshot from another voice actor, Nathan Noakes. Nathan Noakes being someone that people have actually recently praised for defending Jacob Takanashi. We can see the post from Nathan reading, "Right, I spoke to the new VA," that being Jacob Takanashi, who lives and works in Japan, and he didn't even know what was going on. He came into an onslaught of criticism and didn't know anything about the strike or SAG since SAG isn't in Japan. Blows my mind. Little Karibo saying, "I find it extremely hard to believe that a VA from Houston, Texas, who is so engaged with indie VO, auditioning for projects being cast in America, and is following several striking voice actors who have been super vocal about the strike, did not know about the strike. Do elaborate, Jacob."
I follow a lot of people on X and I never see their tweets. In fact, I only look at X when I'm pooping. Sometimes I don't see like anything that people are posting, and then like maybe I'll find out about it later. I'm like, wow, they were talking about that for a while. Yeah, crazy.
The implications from Little Karibo seem to be that Jacob Takanashi is lying, to which Kit Harrison responds to that stuff saying, "Here's a tip, try to follow lies through. Let's say we believe that he wasn't aware there was a strike. While I have no idea how you wouldn't be, he absolutely is now. So why hasn't he stepped down? It's because he's okay working in this role. Didn't need to bother with that excuse then." So we can then reasonably conclude that the recent post Kit Harrison made over on our Genshin Impact is likely to have bias towards SAG-AFTRA and against Jacob Takanashi. However, it looks like his damage control post isn't really working either, as we can see a top comment responding to the post reading, if the main point is just AI protections, why isn't that just the main point for the project, and why does the project have to become union to be unstruck if it quote-unquote doesn't matter in the first place?
Exactly.
If the project actively decides to only work with agents...
If that's the problem, then let's address that problem individually. If that's why you're saying that you're striking, then like let's fix that and then let's move on. Trying to like add on all this other shit is like, yeah, that's what's causing the problem here.
AI. Should this not be enough to alleviate the strike based on what they're striking for? If Hoyoverse as a non-union project already moves to studios like Sound Cadence, which guarantees their actors protection from AI usage, what more is there to strike against for Hoyoverse aside from being a non-union project? If the bargain is still, yes, you did everything to support our anti-AI clause, but you're still non-union, thus still struck, this feels counterintuitive, and more of a push just for the project to flip union rather than anti-AI as the actual...
Probably the anti-AI clause is basically just something that says that, because when you're working for like a company, you're doing like any sort of like art commission or something like that, you basically sign the rights of like that specific thing, the usage rights of that thing, to another company. And probably what they're saying is that the actual contract has a clause that says that it cannot be used for training of AI. That's probably like what they're talking about, is my guess.
I would rather not take the word of SAG will just make a deal.
It might even go further as to say like they will never ever use AI. I don't know. I don't know if it goes that far.
Everything will be peachy keen with the non-FICOR signing union VAs. When once flipped union, the non-union VAs are in lesser power rather than equal power. As for the negative stigma of FICOR and non-union VAs, you can blame SAG-AFTRA's own page for FICOR. Tell them to fix it if they don't want misinformation to spread. I believe some SAG speaker was also called out for calling non-unions of lesser quality. Indeed, referencing the FICOR stuff we discussed earlier, as well as disparaging remarks from Duncan Crabtree Ireland, who of course is not just a SAG speaker, but the National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator of SAG-AFTRA. Another top comment reads, "Thanks for sharing. However, this only solidifies my distrust and dislike of SAG-AFTRA. I do hope you and your fellow voice actors get the protections you deserve. But seriously, not at the expense of others over just trust the process." This is similar to what we discussed way earlier in the video with how another voice actor was basically trying to defend SAG-AFTRA, saying like, oh, don't worry about the non-union actors, guys. SAG-AFTRA definitely won't screw them over, wink wink. A response they get reads, "Agreed. It's crazy how the SAG jerks think they can get away with this just by twisting everything to Hoyo doesn't want to sign because of the AI protections, when it's not even the point of contention. They're trying to screw over non-union members while gatekeeping projects to only their SAG cult members."
That's what I said earlier about how they're trying to like group a bunch of stuff in with it that has nothing to do with like what they're actually claiming is the major issue. So they're using the AI thing to claim that in order to like drum up a lot of public sentiment about it, but that's not actually the issue that they care about. Because if they cared about that, then they would come to the table specifically for that issue.
Absolutely sickening. And another response reading, "Gaslighting doesn't work anymore if someone did their own research." In the next top comment that we're going to read, Kit actually responds and gets minus 106 downvotes.
Oh
this
my
user
god.
Quotes a section of Kit's post that reads, "If Hoyo Games flip union, they will have
minus
to remove all
106
non-union English VAs or force them to join SAG, right? This is a commonly cited worry, but it's not true." And this section saying, "Don't you have only 3 tapped Hartleys and then you have to join SAG? You can get things waived, extended pay fees over a longer period of time, or any number of compromises." With the user responding to those sections from Kit's post saying, "So which is it? If there's no requirement to join, then I wouldn't see the need to have any compromises at all. As you've worded things, it sounds like it is a requirement, but it simply isn't enforced consistently, much like your global rule 1, which is most of the entire reason that this entire mess exists." Kit responds saying, "For clarity, I mean, that is not true that non-union talent would be kicked off the game. Everyone who is non-union currently on any game that flips union would become SAG eligible, as I mentioned in the post. And then the process of them joining the union is flexible, as I explained."
So no, they don't. No. We're not going to kick them out, but they have to join us. Like,
and in some territories, they don't even need to worry about it. As I mentioned in the main body of the post, unions are run for and by humans,
but yes,
and so they are understanding with people's needs and requirements. There is no danger to non-union performers who are currently working on the games of losing anything. They only stand to gain stronger protections and security on a project. Hope this helps. Once again, he gets minus 106 downvotes, and this top response to him reads,
"This is like a fucking vampire plague, isn't it? Isn't it, chat?"
No, you're misrepresenting the situation. If Hoyo signs a contract with SAG, third-party VAs become dependent on SAG's decision. In other words, SAG gains control over them, one way or another. They are required to either join SAG or go through a Taft-Hartley process. It doesn't matter how much easier it might be to join SAG or what guarantees are offered to VAs already working on the project, they cannot just continue working while ignoring the existence of SAG. They will have to interact with them, and that is one of the main problems. Okay, let's pause. I know we went over a lot of stuff, but let's keep in mind the focus of this video is once again on the damage control attempts and how they're not working. And that takes us over to one more post on our Genshin Impact titled, "I spoke to some VAs to get clarification," long, in which one of the voice actors this person talked to was Louis Bermudez. You might recall the name because in my video yesterday, we saw that person disparaging Jacob Takanashi. In other words, yet another extremely biased source. His tweet responding to Jacob Takanashi reads, "My hope is you were misled and weren't fully aware that John was withholding his work to fight for a better future for actors everywhere. If that's the case, you have the opportunity to do the funniest thing right now, but if not, and you continue in this role, yikes, man." And we can see that the Reddit users responding here on our Genshin Impact do catch that, saying, Louis Bermudez, really? Wasn't he on the bandwagon to ask the new VA to quit? There is some bias here, no? And once more dancing around the questions, that should be a simple yes/no. Yes, he was. He was also unprofessional to Jacob Takanashi. He's definitely part of the reason some of these are bias/non-answers. Another response saying, "Please note that Bermudez referred to the new VA as stealing food off someone else's plate and defended the hate he was getting. And both VAs are pushing for the interim agreement," referring to both VAs in the OP, where the OP had asked them questions about this whole SAG thing. It's in their best interest to provide as obtuse or pro-interim agreement responses as possible, even if they may not be true.
Well, yeah, because once people actually understand, so the problem is that they have to conceal what the actual reasons are behind it, because their biggest weapon, besides them withholding labor, is the community, right? Actually like drumming up support from like fans and then getting the fans, because the fans are the ones who pay them. The fans are the ones that pay the company who pays them. So if like if the funding is cut by the fans, then the company has no choice but to like give in to like their demands, because then they're just losing money, right? And then obviously the whole point of this is to not lose money. And if it becomes more worth it for them to just pay them more money to shut up, then they would just do it rather than have to deal with the fans. Well, obviously they don't want to do that, right? But the reason why they're doing this is they have to hide the reason behind it so that the fans won't find out about it, right? But the thing is that kind of strategy is a lot harder nowadays because we live in an era where information is so easy to get. There's always people talking about it, always people digging, and people will find out like what the actual reasons are behind things. Again, it's not in their best interest to actually care about the other stuff that they're trying to add into it. Maybe AI, like they care about it a little bit because they can kind of feel for that. But once you find out that it's not actually about the AI, now you start to lose the goodwill of the community. It's like, okay, you know what? Actually, you guys are fucking crazy. And then so they're losing like a major base of support that they can leverage against the company.
Yourself by reading the relevant stipulations. They are the only source of hard truth. Stealing food off someone else's plate. Wasn't even allowed to work on that project in the first place. You can't make this stuff up. That's referring to, I believe, SAG's Global One Rule, which is one of the final things we'll go over in this video real quick. Because as you've seen, a recurring theme that people take issue with regarding these VAs is their hypocrisy, their double standards, etc., etc. And SAG-AFTRA's Global One Rule states, no member shall render any services or make an agreement to perform services for any employer who has not executed a basic minimum agreement with the union. And as we can see briefly summarized in this response, quoting a section from the OP where one of the VAs had apparently said, it's Global Rule 1, but yes, actors working quote-unquote off the card on VO have been a thing for a long time for many complex reasons. The user saying, so they're lying to sign their contract, which is contract fraud. That's all you really need to know. To further clarify this, it sounds like what's been going on is that SAG-AFTRA members who are voice actors should never have been working on Genshin Impact to begin with, according to their own Global Rule 1.
True. That's weird. That's kind of weird, right, guys? That's a little weird. They wanted
their cake and they wanted to eat it too.
Weird.
And of course, this
they can take everyone's jobs. That's fine. But then the instant somebody wants to get a job that like they're on a project that they have, that's a no-no. So they don't even follow their own rules. It's whatever is beneficial to them.
All that's been going on recently. And for one last piece of clarification, the stealing food off someone else's plate quote comes from this different tweet from Louis Bermudez than the one we took a look at earlier, where he had said, people have to keep food on the table, but you have to draw the line somewhere. Stealing food off of someone else's plate is probably where I'd draw that line.
That was video 3. There's like fucking 9 of them.